All right, folks, everybody, once again to Irish Sports Daily Power Hour. I'm your host, Mike Frank, here with Jamie Uyeyama, and we are going to talk some Irish football. Before we get going, I wanted to mention once again, it's a great time to sign up for Irish Sports Daily. Go to the front page, click on the premium section, and sign up for a premium subscription. Lots going on. Obviously, Notre Dame's still in the race for the playoff, and as long as they continue to play like they did on Saturday, they got to get in the playoffs. And so season is hardly over. Things are looking brighter after Saturday's game, and we'll get into all that. Also, wanted to mention if you wanted to watch us live on YouTube, you can find us. We schedule it always on Monday after the Marcus Freeman press conference, so you can find us on YouTube. Just search for Irish Sports Daily. We'll have the live show there. You can also find the show after it's broadcast as well. And if you do check it out, make sure you subscribe and like the channel. We'd greatly appreciate that. Also wanted to mention our sponsor, our first one, which is ESQ Clothing, founded by ND alum Ge Wang, and Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. As Notre Dame reloads for the season, now's the time to refresh your wardrobe and add the perfect suit, sport coat, tuxedo, or casual jacket for fall. ESQ Master Tailors combine next-level craftsmanship with the finest fabrics to deliver a fit that's built just for you. Now with showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka, book your custom fitting and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD and get your appointment and receive 10% off your entire purchase. Once again, that's esqclothing.com. All right, Jamie, rewatch. It was interesting to just go through the game again. It was so much fun to watch that you just kind of get caught up in the moment of the excitement of all the big plays and everything that's going on, that you're not necessarily focusing kind of on the minutia of things. And we'll start with with offense first. Obviously, CJ Carr playing beyond his years. I mean, it's just really, really amazing to watch how well he has played. His accuracy is what really stands out. His ability to get the ball out quick, his ability to make quick decisions, that type of thing. I couldn't be more pleased with CJ Carr. The only little thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is he's throwing the ball. I mean, there's a lot of 50-50 balls. Notre Dame's coming down with them, right? They're doing a great job of coming down with them. And so I think you keep trusting your receivers until they let you down. But some of them are kind of like, oh boy, that could have gone the other way. And that's kind of who the guy is. And you have to live with the good and the bad. And Notre Dame hasn't been affected that much by the bad at this point. Had some drops and things like that hasn't hurt. But man, when you look at just his accuracy and his willingness to push the ball downfield and take chances, it just drove me nuts for so long. So many quarterbacks just didn't have the, I don't want to say guts, but it just wasn't in their head to say, you know what, I'm throwing this thing up there. All right, we need to make a play, and this is what I'm going to do. And I think that's great. I love that about him. And as time continues and as he gets better in this performance and understanding this offense, I think he's going to be even better and better. And rewatching the game, as good as he played, there were a couple opportunities where, he could have made a different read and maybe had a bigger play or things like that. But I mean, there's really nothing to complain about when you look at the quarterback situation right now. Quick thoughts on CJ.
Yeah, I think it's totally true that there's probably like a handful of plays that you look at, and I'm not even talking about like the one that should have been a pick or whatever, right? Obviously that was not a good decision, but like you said, like the 50-50 ball. And I think of specifically the one play that he threw to Jaden Greathouse that, went off the guy's helmet. It was, they were calling a rub route. It was supposed to get Greathouse open, but what happened is they miscommunicated and Faison was wide open. And he had kind of predetermined that he was going to throw it up the Greathouse. And I get it, because there's probably like before the game, you're thinking, hey, we got to get, Greathouse the ball here. And he made that incredible 50-50 catch later on, right? The toe tap on the sidelines. So I understand it, but that was a play where you don't want to predetermine it, right? You want to read it. And that is the crazy part, Mike, is like he's playing at extremely high level right now. It's like he's only scratching the surface. Like he is going to
Yeah.
get better. And of course there are going to be, because people brought this up on the board too. Like there's going to be games where it's like, hey, it doesn't look all like this. And Arkansas obviously is not a very good defense. You completely understand that. Like Caleb Williams was like incredible, and then he had the stinker against Notre Dame. Like there was like all these things. There's going to be games where it's going to be tough, and it's going to not look as smooth. But when you just like the totality of like what you said, accuracy and poise, the two balls specifically, the one to Eli Raritan, the back shoulder down the sideline, the other one to Faison that was the comeback, which wasn't really a great route by Faison, didn't really push the corner off, and that corner had a beat on it, could have had a pick six, but the ball was perfectly low and away, and it was a bullet. It was right exactly where it needed to be, and ends up being a big play instead of a pick six because of how accurate he was. And
yeah,
they're just a difference. Like you just don't see that. We haven't seen that from a Notre Dame quarterback consistently. The way that we've already seen from, Carr very early on. Is he second in the country in QBR? Like that is just incredible. It's incredible to be this good, this fast. And you're obviously seeing what a guy like that, if he's playing at a high level, can do with all the weapons they have.
Yeah, and he's played for Power 4 teams, which is something that I don't think hardly any that I know of have actually done. And so to perform at that level and against some pretty good defenses in Texas A&M and Miami, I think he's really done a tremendous job. They haven't attacked the middle of the field that much yet. I'm sure that's coming, and that's kind of the next step. And I think that's where we'll see more Eli and that type of thing. But I think Mike Denbrock has done a tremendous job of managing this situation. Are there times where I'm like, what are you doing? Well, yeah, of course there are. But that's every offensive coordinator that's out there. I'm sure that there are a few things that I would have rather happened in the Miami game, I think specifically. But again, you got a first-time starter out there. And I don't think people understand, how many interceptions Carr threw in fall camp. All right, you can't give a team like Miami the ball, especially when your defense isn't playing that great. So I think he had to be conservative. I see a lot of fans still kind of, I don't want to say a lot of fans, but a few fans still kind of mentioning that. And it's like, this is a first time starter quarterback, right? And
yeah.
Let's be honest. The offensive line did not play very well in the Miami game for sure, and really not that great in the A&M game. They played better, but not that great. So it really limits what you can do offensively when you've got a brand new quarterback and an offensive line that just isn't quite gelling at that point. And yeah, now that the offensive line is doing better, obviously there's more things that Mike Denbrock can call, and that's what we're starting to see. And the defenses will get a little bit worse, and you'll have some opportunities for this confidence to grow with this offense. Switching to offensive line, it seems crazy when you talk about the 600 and almost 50 yards that this wasn't. I wouldn't say it was a great game. I'd say it was a very good game by Notre Dame's offensive line, but more busts there than I thought I would see. Even watching on the playback, during the game, again, I do watch O-line probably more than anything, but just because the plays were so explosive, sometimes you don't really get a good look. You're just following the ball. I thought it was good. I thought it was very good most of the time. Some just kind of crazy, and I think in your rewatch notes, I think you rightfully pointed out, Billy Schrauth playing very, very well. By far the best. I think Emil's playing good right now. I think Knapp had a good game considering all the things that he was going to go against. And man, he's a really good run blocker when he wants to be. Man, he is a very good left tackle run blocker. And so that's exciting. Ashton probably wasn't his best game of the year. And then I thought Gerby kind of up and down. His ups were big and beautiful. His downs were just not quite as what we expected from the last game. Thoughts here on O-line?
Yeah, I thought it was completely agree with you. Like when you kind of rewatch it, I don't think they run blocked as well as you want to see. Yeah. And I think like I would say a lot of it though was like Craig. I think Ball, he obviously did an okay job against Marcus Ball like most of the time, but he got beat a couple times bad, and that was like disruptive. And Ball was definitely their best player up front. And I thought that Gerby, you could see like there was a lot of good, especially when he's out pulling and he's in space and stuff.
Monster.
He's a weapon.
Yeah.
He's an absolute weapon. But there were like the one play where it was, they're running inside zone to the boundary, and it was blocked up perfectly by everybody. And he just stumbles and he misses the linebacker, the second level. If he makes that block, it's a house call. It's a house call, right? And, Love gets hit. He ends up still turning it into like 11-yard gain because Love is exceptional. But that's something that I think that, when you see like there were more plays like that from Gerby that were like, it wasn't like he was like 50% or whatever, but you want him to play at a higher level, and he's not quite there yet. Consistently of like sustaining everything. In some place he can be dominant, in other place, he misses his assignment, right? So I think that's one thing to kind of look at when you're looking at like the O-line on a run plan. I thought the receivers are blocking great right now. They've really been great the last couple of weeks. Yeah. And the tight ends, I thought this was Eli, and Ty Washington did a good job when he was in there. Eli, I thought this was his best game as a run blocker. So I think there's just a couple things there inside that I want to see kind of just a little bit better. But pass pro wise, I thought it was a great game. Like, and that's something that when you came into the game, like one thing that Arkansas did well was rush the passer. They rushed the passer very well in the first 4 games. Well, Carr, they blitzed him a lot, and occasionally they got some free rushers from it, but I don't even think those were like assignment errors or anything like that. That's just like, hey, they're rush more guys than you're blocking here. And other than that, they didn't have guys who won up front very often. It was very, very little. And Quincy Rhodes had 16 pressures in the last 3 games. He had 1 pressure in this game, and it was a play that was like, coverage. It was like a coverage play where that happened. So I think, there's a lot to like about the offensive line in this game. And obviously too, I think Gerby's going to be, he's better now than obviously he was against Miami, but he's only going to get better too. And I think that's something where he's not obviously playing where like Carr is playing right now, but just wait till he takes off.
Gentlemen, I want to highlight this post by Lebowski. O-line has been very penalty free. You guys are talking about the O-line. There's not a lot of penalties. They're good plays are staying good plays, because Arkansas had a couple plays in this game that they had
killed their drive,
brought back because they killed their drive. So it's a good point, Lebowski.
No, and it is. And how many times last year did Notre Dame have penalties where drives would get killed, And it's just that 5 yards is a big deal. It's a big deal. 10 yards holding is huge, And I thought, first of all, I got to say, I think CJ Carr, Notre Dame had a few issues, with that. And CJ Carr just was money on, when he needed to make a big play on like 3rd and 9 and things like that. He did a heck of a job. And so you got to that's what I love about CJ Carr. He seems to play his best at the time when his team needs him the most. And so it's interesting because you mentioned, the wide receivers, Jamie, and Mike Brown has taken a lot of flack from some Irish fans. He's starting to show why Marcus Freeman wanted him, why Mike Denbrock wanted him. This is a good blocking team right now, and the drops have become minimal. Multiple guys are developing and getting better. So it's exciting to see him come together. And then it's funny because you mentioned the Raritan thing. I saw Pro Football Focus had him at like 48 grade on blocking. I'm like, this is why I think these guys are clowns. I'm like, what are you guys watching? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand.
He had a
where
really
they
good
come up
game.
with these-
He had a
I don't
really good
understand
game.
where they come up with these. And I saw one kind of missed block that he could have done a lot better job on, but most of it was pretty good. And look, if you're a tight end and you're moving, you know, you're not going to have the
You're
same
moving a
block.
defensive end at the point of attack. Like,
yeah. Or you're moving in space and you got to find a blitzing linebacker.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a clean block every time. You're just, you know, but Ty Washington, I thought, did a really good job. So offensively, this is starting to look like a well-coached team. It just is. And I'm excited about it. I like to see, you know, Kenny Minchie come in, and he looks like a guy that, you know, if something happens, he looks like he's ready to play. And more importantly, give that guy credit for, you know, not quitting on his team and, you know, knowing that there could be opportunities for him down the road. If something, you know, God forbid happened to Carr, staying in it mentally and executing and doing a good job. So very excited about offense. Defense, we were kind of talking before the show here. It's, and I mentioned it in my comments after the game in the Frank commentary. I think it takes a defensive coordinator time to kind of know who you are, who your players are, what they're best at, and what they're not good at, and design a game plan and when they're in the game based off of, you know, what you want to do defensively. And I'm not sure that Ash knows all of that at this point. I think he's getting better, a better understanding. The other thing that I think people probably aren't giving him enough credit for, and that is, well, I shouldn't say enough credit, but giving him somewhat of an excuse for, and I don't care who you are, right? If you're playing a true freshman at corner, right? You got a guy back there in Tay Johnson who hasn't played much, not just much, you know, as a starter, but not much on defense, period, you know, because he just hasn't been, and this is his second defense that he had to learn in 2 years. And then you've got Dallas Golden playing a tremendous amount in nickel at times. That's difficult for any defensive coordinator. And it's not that you don't, you know, trust them or feel, but they're still freshmen. They're going to make mistakes. And I think Marcus pointed out some interesting things about how we'll signal things in and people aren't getting it right. You know, they're not getting it right all the time. They're not getting the correct signal. And so we have guys doing some things. So no, I'm not making excuses for Ash at this point, but people need to give him a little bit of leeway in that this is not a good situation for him to be in. And let's be also honest that your other starting corner hasn't played that well at this point. He's played better in this game, so that's exciting. What you don't want to do is just ruin all confidence in the secondary at this point, because you got a whole bunch of players that are kind of playing for the first time. So to me, I think if you look at the situation, some of it's understandable, but you know, how much film did you watch? You know, how much film did you watch of these individual players before you started doing this? Because that should have given you an idea. We talked about Drake Bowen and off the air, and you know, while we believe it was his best game, me personally, I don't think they're putting him in the best position to succeed, what he's the best at. I think they did more in this game, and he showed up and as a blitzer did a great job. When he can play downhill, he's a force. I mean, he will freaking light you up. And that's the type of way that, you know, if you're playing him, I think that that's what he's good at. And I think it's been tough for them because that's not his best situation. You know, playing coverage, playing zone, you know, playing the pass, not necessarily his best strengths at this point. Sure, he's got to learn how to do it, but you also got to win games and play good defense on top of it. So a lot I said there, Jamie. Just want to get your overall thoughts on the defense so far.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's I would say, and I talked about it, Greg and I talked about it after the game. You know, shocked, frankly, that the defense played as well as they did, given how the first 3 games went. So, I mean, you got to tip your cap.
There was a wise guy, a really wise guy, who said that was going to happen. Do you remember who that was?
It definitely was not you, Mike.
What are you talking about? I'll show you the post on Irish Sports Daily. I absolutely.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just
Okay,
joking.
I'm just kidding.
I'm
Okay.
just joking. No, I mean, I thought they were going to play better, but I didn't think I still thought they were going to give up way more than they did. Right. Like I thought it was like, it was kind of going to be like maybe 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's what we, and to me, I think this was more like 2 steps forward. Now they've taken probably like 12 steps back from last year. So,
yes.
you know, give it. So put that
Got
in
a long
context.
way to go yet. Yeah.
Got a long way to go. But this was the first game for me that resembled the last year's defense in a lot of ways. And there's still like things that, you know, you don't see there. And I still want to see some different changes, but I thought like how they approached, you know, containing Green as a scrambler was different than how they approached Reed. It was a horrible plan what they had for Reed in that game. Like rush 3 with 4 as a spy was just not a good idea. It was not a good idea. And this where they did a lot more where, so for example, they ran the one where they ran the ET stunts on both sides, was 3rd and 10. And then Bowen was the spy. Well, rush 4 with a 5. And that did the job, right? Like,
yeah, that was a sauce.
And they also did the same kind of thing that they did against Brennan Armstrong against NC State, where they would rush 5, squeeze the pocket. They're not trying to win. They're not trying to create a lane. They're just squeezing the pocket down on it, and it worked. And to me, there were signs of this game where, yeah, okay, some of it is like, okay, they maybe changed some techniques there. To me, it really seemed like Chris Ash, maybe because he was forced to listen to the rest of the staff more and did a little bit more there. And I think, you know, that, and then also I think it's just natural for exactly what you said about like Tay Johnson and Zachary. These guys are going to get better. Like they're going to get better. And Zachary didn't play all that bad in the Purdue game. He got beat on a couple of like really tight coverages. Like those were good throws, good catches. He's right there.
Yeah.
And
right
so
there.
I think when you look at like where some of these guys are and some of these young guys, and even like, you know, up front where with some of those guys too, like, you know, Jordan Botello, I look at him and this was the game where to me, he looked the most like himself, like from before. And, you know, he's coming off the pec injury and the major knee injury. And you could see Boubacar's, you know, getting there at the thing. And Boubacar is playing at a very high level against the run right now. And obviously he had the sack in the game, but he's doing more. And you're just kind of discovering some of these other guys too that are playing up a level that I think helps. But yes, I agree. There's still more of like, I want to see them lean into the strengths of some of these guys more. And hopefully I think when you get like full health, I mean, obviously it's a different defense when Leonard Moore is in there, but considering Leonard Moore was not in there.
Yeah. I
think that when you add that kind of like piece of it to this game and what Notre Dame did in this game, I thought it was a very good game from Notre Dame's defense. And I like, because frankly, I thought they were going to get shredded. I thought they were going to get shredded. Like, I thought they'd have good moments, but get shredded at the same time, you know? And it was
which
obviously
is what it's been.
But not even as much good moments, you know, right? I thought that was going to be the step where we're saying, okay, see more good moments, whatever. And I just like, even just stuff like where it might not seem like a big deal, but it really, you just need that confidence, kind of regain your mojo a little bit, where they're getting, so red zone stops and edge, obviously there's stuff. It's like edge red zone. Like, you know, they're on like the plus 21, Arkansas is on the plus 21. So it's not quite the red zone, but you're making them settle for field goals or getting them in no points. Like those are huge. And that's something that we saw in this game where it's like fourth down, 4th and long. They heat them up. Yes. Even on the first drive.
Thank God.
3rd and 4. And it might not seem like, oh, that guy dropped the pass there, right? Well, it wasn't a good throw. It was a 6-man pressure. They didn't get pressure, but it was like the ball went out because it was 6-man pressure. And the ball wasn't accurate because it was 6-man pressure. And sometimes you just need to do that and say, hey, beat us with this throw. Get the ball out quickly. Because most quarterbacks don't trust that they're going to protect against 6-man thing. So they're thinking, I got to get the ball out. And I just thought that mentality was different in this game, which definitely has not been the case with Chris Ash. And I don't know if that's was with him or if that's more of like Freeman's influence or that's more of like, Washington and Bulla and Mickens getting more into it. But like, I just thought that part of it looked more like the defense that we've seen. And frankly, I think that was really positive.
My hope is that Chris Ash went to, Max Bulla, Wash, Mickens, and said, and maybe even Marcus, and said, hey, I could use some help here, right? This is all, it's coming fast, and I'm just, I'm struggling. That would be ideal if he did that. I don't know whether he did. It would be interesting to know that. But I think if that were the case, that will help Notre Dame down the road, right? That those guys working together and trying to, him having trust and faith in those guys. Because let's be honest, I mean, Mickens knows his corners better than Nash ever will, and Bulla will know exactly what his linebackers can and can't do, and Washington will know that as well. I had a terrible thought where you're talking. I'm just going to say this now. I just hope that Marcus Freeman says, I don't care what you want to do against Navy. We're doing exactly what we've done. I don't care what you think is best. We are doing what we've done, period. That needs to be said. I hope that's said, because every damn defensive coordinator in the last 25 years has come in and decided they're going to change it. They know better. And every time it's a disaster.
It's an absolute disaster. You're right.
So that better be said. I will be very upset if it is not the same. Very upset, because that's on Marcus. He needs to know, because he went through it too. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. So
no, it's actually, you couldn't get harder, especially for someone who's been out of the game as a defensive coordinator as long as Ash has, and also like coming from the NFL. It's just so foreign to what you're going to see, and they'll just kill you. They will. Yeah. They will just absolutely do that if you don't play it a certain way, and you have to be disciplined, and like even that, like it's going to be still tough, right? Like
disciplined but aggressive. You have to be both of those in that game. You have to be both, and too many guys try and be aggressive, or too many guys try to be assignment sound, which is very important in this game. But it takes away their aggressiveness, and that's why you completely run out of the building when you do that. So, all right. I think that this is going into this game. I wasn't sure, and I want to bring our good buddy Greg Flamong, the Monger, in here, and I want to get his opinion on it too. Do you guys think this can be fixed enough to where the defense can be fixed enough to where they go play a quality team and they can handle? I mean, people forget, Arkansas, the team Ole Miss that just beat LSU, Arkansas had them in jail. They could have won that game. So it's not like Arkansas is a terrible team. How good is Ole Miss? We don't really know, because in that game, they certainly defensively, they didn't look good. But my question to you, both of you, do you think that this can be fixed? Do they have the personnel? Do they have the things that they need, provided Leonard Moore gets back? Do you think this is going to get better? And maybe by USC, hopefully, or maybe even, sooner, we'll start to see the defense that we thought we'd see? Start with you, Greg.
Well, what do you mean by fixed, I guess, is a better way to put it?
Just less bus.
Yeah, I think
more aggressive,
I think what we're seeing here is they've identified who should be playing where and who they're going to be trusting on a week-to-week basis, right? So like Bronte Johnson, since the play against Texas A&M, when he kind of got brought in, I mean, he's played probably about 95% of the snaps at the free safety position. So like, he's a guy that they want to get. I mean, obviously you got to get Leonard Moore back. Like, that's clearly a thing. Getting Devontae Smith back. I think knowing, Marcus Freeman talked today about Mark Zachary. Like, they trust him to fill in for now Christian Gray and Leonard Moore if they need to. And I think they'll move, if depending on who's out. I don't know that they'll put Zachary on the boundary, but like, they can move Christian Gray to the boundary and give Leonard Moore a breather if they want. So like, fixing the personnel, and understanding your personnel, and I think is very important in this. Elijah Hughes is a guy that he should be playing a lot. Like he needs to be playing all the time. He's had 2 good games in a row now. I think getting Bryce Young more involved, getting Boubacar, he's starting to build a little bit more, right? From coming back from injury. Jamie mentioned Jordan Botelho, how he's coming back, right? Like getting everyone accustomed to the playing time they're going to get, finding the guys that they need to be getting all of or most of the reps is important. And the other part of it is just Chris Ash seeing, this is what we did against a very good offense. Okay, let's start to replicate and build off of that instead of him clearly just throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks. And that's clearly what was going on in the first 2 weeks. It's unfortunate for him that they started with the teams that they did, which is kind of unprecedented in college football, right?
Yeah.
You start with 2 top 10.
They got screwed by the ACC, really.
Yeah, like that never happens, right? So
Swarbrick shouldn't have allowed it to happen. He shouldn't have allowed it to happen. That was the problem.
It is what it is. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and that's just unfortunate on that front. So getting the right personnel in, getting some good stuff on tape, finding out who your main players are is kind of this is how I think it gets fixed for Notre Dame.
Jamie?
Well, I think to Greg's point too, it's a little bit like when Xavier Watts started in the last 4 games of 2022, right? Like and when it was like Brandon Joseph was out, and like they upgraded big time. And also, like, obviously, if you look at that, back half of that season, Ben Morrison took over the job, like really took over and started playing at a high level. So so there are things like that where you could say, like, even just having Mark Zachary, and first of all, great to have him gain confidence and show like, hey, I can play, right? And just get those opportunities. But how about if you're in a game and Christian Gray is having one of those days? You don't have to say, yeah, we're just going to live with it and hopefully he makes a play here to save the day. Nah, you have somebody else to throw in there. And you can throw Gray back in there later, but it's just like having that can be big. That can be big. And I even think, like, when you get into to Greg's point, to get into a situation where so we're going to play SC, and SC is the best offense that they're going to face, probably the rest of the year, to be honest. And that offense, and I mean, we'll see, they're beat up right now, and obviously that plays a big thing. But you look at like any game where when you're playing your toughest opponents, well, those are games that in, say, the past few years, Cross and Mills, those guys are playing almost every snap. They're out there. They're playing. Maybe they play 60% of the snaps in the other games. Well, those games they're playing 75 to 80, maybe more. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just like when you go in and you find out, well, Gabriel Rubio is our best defensive tackle. Like, he's been their best defensive tackle so far through 4 games.
No
doubt. And now it's like, if you're playing somebody, and so you're playing Boise State this week, they want to run the ball. I'm thinking, like, Gabriel Rubio, we got to get this guy out there, and he's going to be the biggest factor there. And, and like what Greg said about finding Hughes and Mullins and these guys, like, I'd love seeing Cole Mullins.
Yeah.
Obviously part of it is because of, Heinisch, and I'm not sure what the deal was with Heinisch in terms of his injury or whatever, but like Mullins getting a chance to rush the passer on 3rd down, like, he was in there. He was the one defensive tackle with 3 edges. Like, that is not something that you normally get. And that says a lot about the confidence they feel in him. So I think all that kind of stuff can actually make a difference. And obviously you got to do a better job coaching it and whatever. That goes without saying, but there's no excuse for them to be as bad as they were. And this is a game, like, I thought they were going to get lit up because Arkansas was good.
Yeah.
Arkansas was good. They were good. They were very good. And Petrino is a really good offensive coordinator. He's very good. So they're just there is enough there not for me to say, hey, it's going to get to this level or it's going to get to that level. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like in this next game. We have to see a level of consistency there. We have to see, because obviously too, with some of these young guys, Hughes might look great and then he plays in this game and he doesn't have, it can happen, right? Yeah. So you want to see a level of consistency, but I certainly feel so much better about the defense now than I did a week ago.
Yeah.
I think Mike too, it's like, it's just, you got to be able to like see what it looks like. And I think that matters for Ash, like he's got to be able to see it. Anytime you try to do something new though, you got to see it sometimes first, and you got to be exposed to it. And what we're trying to do at Irish Sports Day is expose you to new things like pickleball, guys. You got to expose people to the pickleball world and the community, and you can be a part of a pickleball community in Mishawaka with H2 Pickleball. Founded by Notre Dame alum Todd Hill, he's teaming with fellow alums Jack Gibbs and Will Howes, a top 10 pickleball pro, to bring Notre Dame fans to Notre Dame Pickleball Crew League. Besides football, what better way to connect and engage Notre Dame fans than through pickleball? Membership is free, and members will have access to special pickleball events and discounts. The next event, people have been asking about this. By the way, Mike, Frank, Ian Book, apparently incredible pickleball player. He was in the Purdue weekend, that tournament, and he did some exhibition games, and he barely lost ever, if at all. So amazing pickleball player. Yes. The next event, it will be a Will Howes pickleball clinic on the Friday before the Syracuse game. Members can also get discounted tickets to that game. Contact Todd at h2pickleball.com or reach him at 574-339-5195 to join the league. Be sure to visit the H2 Pickleball facility in Mishawaka when you are in town. H2 Pickleball is located at 55801 Evergreen Plaza Drive in Mishawaka, Indiana.
All right. My thoughts, I guess, defensively is, I think if you're going to get they need to find somebody to team with Rubio on rundowns. It's just been kind of hit and miss there. Jared Dawson looks good a lot of times, and other times not so good. But again, I think he's been banged up, and that probably playing a factor in it. I thought Onye looked a little better in this game. Made some plays. Still would like to see more consistency. We didn't get to see anything obvious with Heinisch, but he's been up and he's been down. That's the way it is a lot of times in the run game with him. It would be nice if they could find somebody to pair with Rubio there that was consistent, so you could shut down the inside run game. Rubio's just a monster in there playing when against the run, and so you like to see it. To me, I think to get where you need to be, you need to start playing linebackers to their strengths, and I hope that that's what we start seeing is if you put this guy in there, what is he best at, and hopefully he's in there for that particular reason. It seems like Jalen Snead's kind of sliding a little bit as far as his time, and Madden's starting to get some more reps. Washington's playing more, so it'll be interesting to see what happens at linebacker. But I really would like to see, if you're going to play Bowen as much as you do, I would like to see him, let him be more aggressive. He's very good at that. That's what he's very good at. So hopefully we'll see more of that. I think it's going to be okay defensively, and it's certainly not going to be 2024. I don't even think by the end of the year it's going to be 2024. Even if they're healthy, they'll still be pretty good. But 2024 was just pretty good. And I think that they had a guy who really, if there's one thing I think Golden did, well, he did two things great. He adjusted immediately in game to what a team was doing, and then two, he knew exactly where his best players were and how to set them up for success. And again, I think that takes time. So now, Jamie, when I look at the remaining teams on the schedule, there's not a lot of great teams that are good defense. Like the top-ranked team and defense on scoring defense right now is Navy, and obviously Navy, that's left on the schedule. They're ranked 30th, right? They're the top team, but they haven't really played anybody worth mentioning. Pitt is at number 60, and they're averaging about 23 points a game. USC 64 with 23 points a game. Boise is 75 with about 25 points a game. BC, is 97 with about 28 points a game. Notre Dame's right there at 28 points at 98. NC State's 99 at 28. Stanford's at 110, 29, and Syracuse is 111 at 30. Not a lot of great, defenses that Notre Dame's going to face. And let's be honest, these teams haven't played a lot of great offenses because it's early in the season. So, they'll, as they play more in their conference schedules, those numbers are probably going to go up. That's just the way it is when you face better competition. But the interesting thing is passing offenses, it's crazy when you look and you see Boston College at number 4 in passing offense with 345 yards per game. SC's at 5 with 338. Syracuse is at 7, 329. Although with Angeli out, we expect that to take a nosedive, and it already has. Notre Dame's at 16 at 306, but Pitt's at 301. Boise is at 20 at 299. NC State is at 38 with 266. Stanford is at 67 with 233. And then, of course, Navy bringing up the rear, 128, 132 yards. Again, I don't think you can read too much into this, but, that's one of those things that you're going to face some teams who like to throw the football. And so Notre Dame will be tested by these teams for sure. Thoughts here?
Well, I mean, they are, but you would say that, Arkansas was next to USC, sure, the best passing offense that you were going to face. And so to have that, especially on the road, against Arkansas, and I understand there's other factors that go into it in terms of like, well, once the game got out of hand and all that too, like that changed things as well. But I really don't think, like, if I'm looking at, say, like the quarterbacks they play the rest of the way, I know Jaden Maivia, he's first in QBR. A lot of that is based on of who they've played, right? Yeah. Like they've played crappy teams, and you can see good thing. I'm not saying he's not talented. Obviously, he threw for a ton of yards against Notre Dame last year, right? And they got and Lincoln Riley's an incredible play caller. Still probably the best guy out there when it comes to just like dialing stuff up, but I wouldn't put him at like, it's not like he's Will Howard playing with those guys that he did at the end of last year. Like they're not humming at that level. And if you look at, say, like NC State and CJ Bailey, like you can see he's a talented kid, but he hangs onto the ball too long, all this kind of stuff. There looks like maybe their season could fall apart. They just lost to, Virginia Tech. Like there's just a lot there that I'm thinking, like, I don't know how good really the rest of the pass offenses are going to be. That if Notre Dame does take a step up, I do think that they're going to, be more than fine. And I would say too, sorry, Mike, what are you going to say?
No, I just said, I agree.
Yeah. And then I think on defense, like, in terms of the defenses they're going to face, like the best one right now, just like in the most recent SP Plus rankings, like 48 is Pitt. Like USC's 50. And I would say USC, they have some talent in their front seven that is like, it's good. Like they have legit guys, but like their secondary is a mess. It's not good. And this is the same thing. And this is the one thing that I've been preaching about USC during their entire time. That whole first year, they got so lucky with the injury luck. And that's how it ended up, they won 11 games that year. And ever since then, it just hasn't been the same. And they've been so lucky especially with their injuries up front, even though they weren't that good up front, they still had all of their guys there. And now they got a couple big injuries on the offensive line. And it's like the drop from the first to the second team for them is massive.
Yeah.
It's massive. Like
that's what I was going to say. When you look at the game against Illinois, which I watched the whole thing, when those two guys, when the center went out, it was a completely different game. It just was. And they weren't playing great before the center went out, but they just couldn't do anything. They couldn't run the ball that well. They just, gave up a lot of pressures. It just was not the same. And with their offensive line, especially if Page doesn't come back and the center doesn't come back by the time Notre Dame plays them, it's going to be difficult for SC to score. Yeah, it really is because, Illinois, and I'm not saying Illinois is a bad defense. They're not terrible. They did give up 63 points the week
they
before.
got 63 the week before, right?
So it's not like they're great. But I mean, I watched that. It's like I said when they played Purdue the week before, SC. You have all that talent, and they didn't run Purdue out of the building either. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things, and Notre Dame plays Purdue the next week and runs them completely out of the building. So all the games are winnable. I was just bringing up the point that the one section that Notre Dame tends to struggle with is the pass game. But I also don't think that there's a lot of like big time receivers that they're going to face either. There's no Concepcion that they're going to face. Yeah, at SC's got two that are really good. It'd be interesting to see what SC's defense looks like then, because they got some dudes. The one linebacker's a really good player. I really like that kid. Was it 18? I think it is.
Gentry?
Yeah. He's a good player. And they have some guys up front who can win. They're just not very consistent, and they're not very good against the run either. So I think Notre Dame they should be favored in all these games moving forward. And we'll see what happens. So, Jamie, I mean, if you're Marcus Freeman at this point, and you're trying to kind of dial up the next step for this team this week in practice, because look, Boise. When I look at Boise, you look at their stats and you're like, okay, they've done some pretty good stuff, But I watched their quarterback in the South Florida game. Man, when he got pressured, he was nobody. But yet you look at the stats that he's put up since then, you're like, okay. But then you look and you say, okay, well, they played Eastern Washington, right? They played Air Force, and Air Force is 1-3. They won 49-37, and the three losses are to Boise, Utah State, and Hawaii. I mean, that's not murderer's row. You know what I mean? And Air Force lost all three of them. So it's not like they're a very good team. And then, of course, App State is also, I think, 1-3, and they really haven't played anybody that good either. And they lost 47-14. I didn't watch the last Boise State game. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the App State game. I haven't watched it yet. But I think that at the end of the day, I'm not sure that Boise looks as good as their numbers. I'm not sure they're as good as some of their numbers, but also this is a team that went to the playoff last year, and a lot of the same guys are back. And the one thing I will say is, they've been able to run the ball when they've had to, and can Notre Dame step up there? Thoughts here on this game?
Yeah, I think anyone who watched that first game, that is one of those things when people are talking about looking ahead to the strength of schedule. The fact that they lost that game kind of put a damper on this game, because it would have been like they would have been top 20, top 15 or something if they would have won that game. But I think that game kind of, even though it was the first game, so you want to take it with a grain of salt, because it's like the first game on the road, traveling from Boise to Tampa for that game. It's not an easy trip, and USF is a pretty good football team, but the way they got whooped in that game up front, especially considering that, like you said, they are bringing back just about the big loss they had was Ashton Jonty, right? Like, who's obviously exceptional. Like, he's, the top 10 pick, that he was their offense last year, right? Just incredible running back. But, they lit up these teams, and they have a lot of, like, if you look at like their numbers for like explosive plays and all that, like they're right up there. But they played, like you said, Eastern Washington, which is the 106th ranked defense in Bill Connolly's FCS ratings, out of the FCS, not just whatever.
That's FCS, yes.
Yeah, and Air Force 125th in SP plus, App State 110th in SP plus. Like, those defenses stink. Like, they're bad. They're bad. So it's like they should be lighting those guys up. And then when they played, USF, the thing that stood out to me is they got whooped up front.
Yes,
they really got
both lines.
Both lines.
Yeah.
And I think so that's
34-7. People forget the score. It was 34-7. It could have been even uglier than that, really. But go ahead.
And obviously that game turned on the one fake punt that turned into a touchdown. And that was when it changed. But it also just showed too, like, Madsen, I don't think I remember last year, because obviously I'm looking into these other, CFP teams, around that time. And I don't think he's very good. Like, I think he's just average at best. And, they do a lot with like play action for him, and they'll take shots and he can do that. But he's like, he's like a 5'10" quarterback who will sling it, but he'll throw the ball to you. That's been a problem with him. He's like, 12th in turnover worthy play percentage in 2024. He's basically got the same turnover worthy play percentage this year. He's a guy who's he only had 6 interceptions last year. It's because a lot of those were dropped. Like he got lucky. He got really lucky, and he had 3 picks in the Penn State game, right? And he was trash in the Oregon game. So obviously, like you said, it's not the same Notre Dame defense, but let's just say Notre Dame plays at the same level that they did against Arkansas.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to score many points in this game. Like, yes, they'll try to, they will try to run the ball a lot, but it's like, I don't think they're not going to be able to bully Notre Dame like all game. They'll get some runs, they'll get some things here and there, but they're not going to be able to bully Notre Dame. They just aren't built for that, to do that. And then I think with their defense, it's so boomer bust because they are super blitz heavy. Eric Chenander is their coordinator. He does a great job with the blitz game, like really, really like creative in what he does. I love all that kind of stuff, but they don't really have the athletes to really match up truly, especially with receivers like Notre Dame has. So, if you look back at that game against USF didn't have a lot of success, like overall, but they hit on big plays. And I think that is the worst combination to have against this Notre Dame team, where all it takes is one play for Janarian Price, boom, house call. Jeremiah Love, house call. Get in the wrong matchup. Oh, well, Malachi Fields beat you deep. Like all of that, like, and there's 4 other guys that they could do that with. That's the thing about Notre Dame is like, and you've seen that from them. So if they don't get pressure with the blitz, or they don't do a good enough job like getting Carr on the ground, and you don't know, like it's a different situation when someone's gonna blitz you, like, hey, we're blitzing you 60% of the time, right? Like that is something that Carr really hasn't faced quite yet. Although they did have a pretty heavy blitz game in this game, they did a good job picking it up. But it is one of those things that, okay, if you're gonna do that and you're gonna be in 1-on-1, I really don't like the matchup with their secondary against Notre Dame's receivers. And I think Notre Dame is going to score a lot of points in this game.
I think there's a good chance they will, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch. I just think you'll see them take another step. I'm not sure it's going to be one on either the offense or defense, but I do think they'll take another step. And I just like how clean the team's playing. There's not a lot of bonehead plays. There's not a lot of personal fouls or false starts or holding calls or things like that. There's just not a lot of that. And so when you can play clean like this and you're not turning the ball over, which Notre Dame's done a good job of, and let's knock on wood, they do the same thing this week. We'll see what happens. I'm excited about it. I can't shut down the show without asking you how you're feeling about your Steelers. We won't ask Greg how he feels about anything right now.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'm feeling it is a very familiar thing. I will say, I'm no fan of Aaron Rodgers in a lot of ways, but the difference between him and who they've had at quarterback since like the last time Big Ben was good, like it's stark, and that has made a huge difference. So I think that is big. I still think they have like some things missing, and they rely far too much on like they need to get to the quarterback and they need to turn the ball over and all that to win games. But I wish that they would ever win a comfortable game. That would be nice if they did, but they're going to make the playoffs again. I know they're going to make the playoffs again. Mike Tomlin is never going to have a losing record. And, Baltimore is 1-3. So they're in a good shape in the division.
You had to bring that up. All right, Greg.
Thank you for bringing that up. They're terrible. They're awful. It's terrible. They're a terrible team. Their defense stinks. Like it's like and it's the actual opposite of Notre Dame in the sense that they're getting worse. Yesterday was non-competitive. It was a miracle that they stopped Kansas City to the field goal drives in the beginning. It was non-competitive. They have no idea what to do with Kyle Hamilton. Like these teams, where is Kyle? We'll just work the other side of the field. They don't even try him, and they don't need to. They can't get Kyle to affect the game in any way. Humphreys is in the slot. He's awful. Their linebacker play is, Roquan Smith is just a shell of himself. Their linebacker play stinks. Madueke, the defensive lineman, he's out, so he's injured. He's their best defensive lineman. Kyle Van Noy's out. He's injured. They're awful. They're an awful team. And now Lamar Jackson has a hamstring problem or whatever it is. So,
but you haven't been a big Lamar fan either. So
who, me?
Yeah.
No, he's good. He's very good.
You just didn't think he'd ever win the Super Bowl because you just said he's too mistake prone.
He makes mistakes, obvierly, but to me, it's just
not all on him.
It's just a matter of. They're fumbling all over the place. Yeah. They're going to beat the Bills comfortably. Derrick Henry puts it on the ground. Last week, puts it on the ground in a terrible spot. It's a trend with Harbaugh. Like Harbaugh, thank you for everything. Please exit. Go get Mike McDonald in here.
All right,
so we can be a proper football team.
I don't think you're going to be able to get him.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I just got to say my Lions are about what I expected. Pretty good. Not good enough to win it all, but pretty good. So, but it's been fun to watch. I love watching Jared Goff. He's not the most talented guy, but he's just a really good leader. And, really what I like the most about him and where he's improved his game the most is when he's not having a great game, he doesn't kill you. And he's smart enough not to kill you. Yeah. Exactly. And that's what he's learned. And that's what's been most exciting about him. And it's crazy because I remember Yama and I were the biggest Amon-Ra fans in the world coming out of high school. And it was just shocking. He didn't become what he's become in the NFL at USC. Thank God. Thank God he didn't.
Yeah, it worked out. He was for Notre Dame.
Yeah. Thank God he didn't. But he's everything that I thought he was going to be for the Lions. And so anyway, just had to put the thing out there. We won't ask Matt because he's not here about his Bengals, but they're done. They're with Joe Burrow out, they're done. It's just, and it'll be interesting to see if Al Golden comes back to Notre Dame after 1 year. Could happen.
I know.
You never know.
It could. It might happen.
Yeah.
I will say if Amon-Ra would have signed with Notre Dame, he would have been my favorite player during this entire time that I
absolutely
covered Notre Dame for you, Mike. Absolutely. I just, that's a football player, man.
Yeah, I think he would have done better at Notre Dame. I really think he would have.
I think he 100% would have, because the other thing about him is he is one of those guys who's like, he wants the spotlight, and just during that time that he would have played in college, he would have played in so many more big spotlight games at Notre Dame than he did at USC, and so I think he would have had a better college career, would have been, drafted higher. It was tough. I understand why he didn't, because of unfortunately it was the worst timing ever because Brandon Wimbush had the yips, and it was like, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
Right. It was the absolute worst timing possible. But and if it would have been different if EQ had a better finish to his career too. I think that honestly, I think that probably would have been the thing that got him to Notre Dame. If he built off of that sophomore year and had a great junior year, I really think Amon-Ra would have ended up at Notre Dame.
But I think that's on EQ and not Notre Dame. I think it's on EQ that didn't happen. And the reason I think Amon-Ra would have been, I think Amon-Ra excels when he has people who care about it as much as he does. And I think with SC, there weren't enough of those guys. He needs to be surrounded by people who care as much as he does. And so, anyway, But he wasn't going to come here, and obviously, if you ever follow their podcast, he hates Notre Dame. So it's what it is.
I respect it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I respect it.
I do too. I respect the hell out of him. He's just a hardworking guy, and just gets the most out of his ability than probably anybody I've seen in a very long time. So, all right, folks, that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed that. We will talk to you next week, hopefully after a big win over Boise State, and it sure is much more fun doing this show when they win like that. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
100.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening, and go Irish.